CGTN's Nathan King has more from UN headquarters.
Tackling the crises of the moment, but also his vision of a shared vision for the future of mankind. Chinese President Xi Jinping, while not mentioning the United States, certainly had lots of criticism for how Beijing perceives Washington's policy when it comes to, for example, imposing democracy militarily. That was mentioned. No country winning means that others are losing, President Xi said. It's not a zero-sum game. And essentially, he said the world at the moment is at a turning point. Massive technological advances, transition, but also turbulence.
Profound changes are taking place in human society. The world has entered a period of new turbulence and transformation. It falls on each and every responsible statesman to answer the questions of our times and make a historical choice with confidence, courage, and a sense of mission.
Now, in terms of tackling the crisis of today, China pledged, repledged 3 billion doses of the vaccine for countries that need it by the end of this year. More coming together and working to make sure that developing countries have access to the vaccine, but also can start making it themselves, as they've done in Eastern Europe and elsewhere. But also when it comes to climate, reiterating the pledge that there will be peak carbon emissions in China before 2030, before the end of this decade, and also net carbon neutrality by 2060, which was a date that surprised everyone when it was announced a few months back, and also announcing that there will be no China-funded coal-fired power stations abroad. Now, there had been some criticism about Belt and Road initiatives funding these, but as China's domestic energy balance moves towards renewables, so will its investment overseas. I can tell you that's being welcomed around the United Nations and beyond as we speak. But very much focusing on Xi Jinping's idea of a shared future of mankind, that development could lift all boats at once, a more equitable society globally. Focus which you don't really hear from many Western governments on the Sustainable Development Goals, the successors to the Millennium Development Goals, which creates more equitable societies after lifting others out of poverty as well. And while he didn't mention the US by name or their new ad hoc military alliances, he essentially said that there is a true multilateralism, and that's the one of the United Nations system, not the multilateralism ad hoc, as it's being called by Beijing, when it comes to grouping like AUKUS, the new Australia-UK US alliance that will give Australia nuclear-powered submarines and long-range missiles, and also the Quad meeting, which is meeting at the end of this week in Washington for its first in-person leaders summit with the leaders of Japan, India, Australia, and Washington. They don't call it an anti-China containment group, but that's pretty much how the region and the rest of the world sees it anyway. Nathan King, CGTN, just outside the United Nations in New York.